Hello, you're listening to Making Music, Making Connections, the podcast of Quench Arts, which is a community music organisation based in Birmingham in the West Midlands of the UK. My name is Liz and I'm one of the directors of Quench. And in this series of podcasts, we're going to talk about our work, about what community music actually is, and about the benefits of creative music making for its well-being and social impact. You'll hear more about our work, particularly in the mental health sector and in working with neurodivergent children and adults, and about how we can all be more inclusive in our practice and spaces. We'll also talk about what we're doing to support and develop our local music leader workforce and their wellbeing. You'll get to hear from some of our practitioners, our partners, and beneficiaries about their experiences in learning, and you'll get to listen to some of the amazing original music that's been created on our projects.
Hi, I'm Nick, the other director of Quench Arts, and I'll be co hosting this podcast with Liz. Because of the nature of our work and the communities we engage, most of the opportunities that we offer are free to those involved, and we are so lucky to have some grants from organisations such as Youth Music and the National Lottery Community Fund to support our activities. The unfortunate thing is that this funding is generally time specific, doesn't cover the full cost of delivering our programmes, and also has other income targets associated with it. If you like what we do, the music that you hear, or appreciate the content of these podcasts and want to help us keep our activities going, you can find out more about our work, including how to donate, on our website, which is www.quench-arts.co.uk. We'd be really grateful for any support you can give.
Through this series of podcasts, we'll be sharing information about our work, our ethos, and the different projects that we run. However, in this first episode, we thought, what better way to introduce Quench Arts than for you to meet some of our team? So today, we're delighted to welcome 4 of our freelance music leaders who have worked with us for a number of years. We're joined by Holly, James, Paul, and Katie. So would each of you like to introduce yourself, explain a little bit about your musical specialisms and interests, and talk about the work and projects that you're currently involved with for Quench Arts? Holly, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I'm Holly. I'm a singer-songwriter and performer. And in terms of working with Quench, I work on a lovely project called Wavelength, which is a music and mental health project that is for participants aged 14 to 25.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Holly. And James?
Yes, I'm James. I'm a songwriter and composer, and my specialism, especially when it comes to community music projects, is music technology, recording and production. I also work on the Wavelength project with Holly. That's a great one. As well, I do a few other things for Quench. So as part of the In Sync banner, I work with primary school age, working with neurodivergent young people. That's a music technology focused project, but also another primary aged project in schools, which is focused on songwriting. And then another great thing is the peer support network, which I facilitate every quarter. And that was set up by Nick and Liz to help other professional community musicians or those that are interested in that kind of work in the community, just creating a space for them to talk about their pathways, what they want to learn, what they can learn from each other. And so that's a really nice group of people to be involved with.
Thanks, James. Katie?
Thanks, Liz. So I'm Katie, and outside of Quench, I work as a traditional folk musician, playing in bands and touring. And with Quench, I work with the amazing project called Musical Connections. This project is particularly amazing because it's been connecting musicians for over 25 years. So having a project that's been running for this long, obviously there are lots of people that have been in the project, lots of music leaders and lots of participants, and it's really done exactly what it sort of says on the tin. It's connecting us all through music over 25 years, and hopefully another 25 and another 25 after that as well.
Thanks, Katie. That's amazing. And Paul?
Good stuff, everyone. Hello, I'm Paul. Primarily a drummer, maybe, but I play guitar and keyboards. And I must actually, I got into music professionally later on in life. So all of those instruments hobbyist originally, but through working on community music, I've been inspired to develop those skills and work more professionally with those instruments, and also write songs. So I write songs now, but again, mostly through the community arts projects. I too work on the Wavelength project and the Musical Connections project, and I also work on a project with Woodbourne Priory Hospital, which is a spin-off of Quench's plugin project, which ran for a few years before this year. The hospital that I worked at liked the project so much that they generated some funds themselves to continue the project. So we could carry on after plugin finished, and I must say that's a very, very rare occurrence. So it shows how much they appreciated the project. And finally, I also help Nick and Liz with some of the recruitment for projects, just to keep on top of. There is a waiting list for Wavelength and Musical Connections. So I help with some of the admin associated with that and meeting the new people and explaining the project, talking it through with them, which is really great fun.
Thanks, Paul. And I think what's really interesting about the Priory Hospital Woodbourne project is it's just been so brilliant because we did used to work there in plug-in for the on the CAMHS wards, but unfortunately their CAMHS wards, their child and adolescent mental health service wards, closed. So we weren't able to continue to work with them with our new youth music funding. But how amazing that they found the project so beneficial that they've kept it going for people above the age of 25. It's brilliant. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great testament to your work as well. So thanks, everyone. We hope that's given our listeners a flavour of who you all are. We feel incredibly lucky to be working with you all, as you all bring such different experiences and perspectives to the projects that we run, and also you just complement each other so well. Not only that, you're also incredibly lovely and supportive people.
So one thing that we'd like to unpick with you all in conversation today is what on earth do we actually mean by the phrase community music? So it's a phrase that ourselves and other organisations across the country use, and often is alongside the term participatory music. And sometimes when we speak to people outside the sector and mention community music, we're greeted by a lot of puzzled looks. So we thought that addressing this is probably the first thing we should do in this podcast series. So shall we have a chat about what the phrase community music means to you? And let's see if we can actually come up with a definition.
Yeah, I suppose for myself, I was one of those people that didn't really know what community music was when I first started working for Quench. And I joined as a volunteer many moons ago on the Musical Connections project. And I was kind of learning as I went, really. And I think the Musical Connections project has been so long-lasting. It's been running for over 25 years now. And through that project, really, I learned that sharing music with participants and with my colleagues, we were kind of all in it together, building a community. And I think with a project that lasts for that long, people can kind of come in and then go out and rejoin at any point when they want. So it's been a really amazing musical community over a long period of time.
Yeah, I like that idea about it being about building a community around music. And I suppose as part of the definition, we've got to understand how you build that community. Because for me, I think music can be quite inaccessible a lot of the time. It's got some, I guess, prickly edges as an art form. There's a lot of benefits in taking part of it, but the barrier to entry, I guess maybe because of the education system in this country or whatever it might be, people struggle to engage with it without some help. So I think community music is about taking some of those prickly edges off music and making it more approachable, more accessible, so that people can feel comfortable to come into these kinds of sessions and build that community.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. And I think a lot of the time when it comes to being accessible and getting into music, a lot of people just don't know where to start. So it's about having a starting point, really, that doesn't feel like it's scary and it feels a bit more like a safe space. And I feel like community music projects hold that safe space for people to take that first step. And for me, I feel like being a part of it really built not only my confidence, but I think it helps other people to become more confident. And I think having that safe space in such a lovely setting proves that these projects are needed.
Yeah, I suppose what you're saying about a safe space is kind of number one, isn't it, really? And that you can enter a project or be part of something and you don't need to have any experience, or you could have a lot of experience, but you're welcome at any stage.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying as well, the talking about people's musical experience is one thing, but I think what community music also encompasses is safe spaces for people with perhaps different ethnic backgrounds, identifying gender-wise differently, people who sometimes don't feel welcome in more mainstream settings. Community music really opens it up to people who don't feel welcome, or perhaps they don't feel like that's for them. I mean, but going back to the days of Sound It Out, where me, Liz, and Nick worked before Quench Arts was born. We used to work with refugees and newly arrived people, and also there were projects for people that couldn't access music because of their living circumstances. So that was opening music up to deprived areas around Birmingham. So it's really providing a welcome space, but an accessible space in terms of money and diversifying the delivery so that it can cater for people from different backgrounds, different abilities musically, but also different abilities in life.
Yeah, I think I actually had a conversation with a participant at our recent residency that kind of really was very poignant and really kind of exemplifies what we're talking about. This was a guy who used to access musical connections a long time ago and was a real regular. He hasn't actually left the house very much over the last few years, but he came on the residency and I said, "Oh, it's great to see you here." And he said, "Yeah, I haven't really been doing anything. This is the only thing that I feel comfortable to do because I feel so safe here." And he, that just really, it warmed my heart to think he knows that if he comes here, he's always going to be safe, surrounded by people that understand him, whether that's staff or whether that's participants.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've touched on things that it means to me as well. I mean, there's been a long tradition of community music opportunities, if you think of like brass bands and community choirs. But for me, our projects and projects like ours, it means that it's a welcoming space for everybody, where it doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, or what your circumstances are. You can actually come along and make music, and even if you're a complete beginner, it doesn't matter. You're still going to be welcomed, and you're still going to have a place in a programme. So for me, I think community music is really about making sure everybody has got access to the arts. It shouldn't be just for the few that can afford it. And I think that's probably what all of you have just said as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add that for me, it's definitely about bringing people together, as other people have said, and through music providing that sort of shared positive experience and a collective sense of ownership and pride in something that's been created together by people, with others. I definitely agree with what everyone said about being accessible and inclusive, and really recognising that anyone can have a brilliant musical idea or lyrical suggestion and can bring something to the table. You don't have to have the prior musical experience. So definitely it's about breaking down those barriers to musical participation and making it clear that music making is for everyone. You don't have to be able to read a music, you don't have to be like technically amazing on an instrument. Obviously those people are welcome in projects, but it's just about having new experiences and learning new skills. For me, musicianship isn't about technical competence. I think it's about creating something that says something to you and to your audience. So yeah, I guess it's about that collaborative experience. It's not necessarily about a final end product or a recording or a gig. It's about people enjoying the process and being really proud of what they've achieved. And it's about people connecting with others through that shared love of music and that finding that common ground. I guess one thing that we haven't particularly touched on is that obviously it's trying to help people to grow, not only musically, but, as a result of the process of being part of a group. So learning to communicate, to compromise, and everyone having a place. So, building those social skills, building your well-being and your resilience through music. And obviously, as you all know, it's about having great music facilitators who can help foster the right environment and the supportive ethos for people. So you've got to be able to inspire people musically and be able to encourage their ideas and creative development and create that safe space. I think what people achieve in our projects and what you help them achieve is musically phenomenal, often from quite limited prior experience. And I think that's something that we should all be proud of. And I know it's something that our participants are proud of. Although community music isn't just about the music, it's about the social and well-being impact. That doesn't mean that the music or the facilitation is low quality. Obviously, if people weren't enjoying the experience and weren't proud of the music they were creating, they wouldn't come back. So I'm really proud of what we've achieved, and I'm really proud that our participants are proud as well.
I think just picking up on what you said there about those kind of softer skills that are taught with music, the confidence building that happens, the communication between different people, the social skills that are picked up as well. Maybe that's something that sets apart community music from other music projects. It's more about what happens after the project. Once you've set up that space, you've given people the opportunity to build those skills. The exciting thing about community music is what happens when that project ends often. And I know Quench Arts are so interested in signposting people to other places, whether that's another project, whether that's somewhere else they can continue their musical journey or their social journey. And so the kind of things that have come out of projects, people having the confidence to go to university, study music, which they never would have done before a project. People that have joined bands, people that have then had a career in music or community music specifically, or even just people that have forged friendships that then last past the project. That's the kind of thing that you don't always see. And I think that's the community side, which is really important for me to include somewhere in this definition that we're trying to get closer to.
Yeah, a couple of points there that I really agree with. Collaboration is key in community music. We're not teachers, and so as a hierarchy, rather than a teacher-pupil hierarchy, might be a teacher teaching down to a pupil, whereas the interaction between a community musician and a participant is very much on the level. We're both here as musicians, and it's an equal collaboration, and support from the community musician is given where needed. So yeah, totally agree with the collaboration point, and also what you're saying, James, about the after effects of a project. Sometimes it may be that the participant then moves on to another community music project. And from what I've observed recently is that part of the community music industry is that it's a learning and growing industry. So as a practitioner, you learn from every interaction that you have. And as an organisation, Quench learns from every project that it delivers. And so then it starts to design projects that people can progress to, and also projects that cater for a wider number of people to really, really open up that place of welcome to as many people as possible. So, for example, predominantly we've been doing mental health work in the last 15 years, and now we're doing more LGBTQIA plus work, which I don't know if we hadn't done the mental health work, I don't know if we would have learned, because we're learning from participants all the time. We learned the fact that there is a need for the more recent projects, but also what we need to do to deliver those new projects. So it's very much an organic, growing industry, I think, and you've got to go into every interaction with with an open mind, as well as a welcoming mind.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That we're always learning from our programs, and as we've said, like community music is to break down barriers. It doesn't mean to say that we don't put projects on that are for targeted communities, because sometimes that's the way in, that's the way that they'll feel comfortable, and then it's increasing their confidence to access other provision as well. So I think that's a really important part of community music's work, is to recognise where there's a need to develop something with the people in mind as well. So it's very much user led, and then it's much more powerful and much more impactful overall.
Yeah, I completely agree about having projects that are tailored to young people, or the people in general that have a need. I think having that space to kind of explore is just so helpful. And I think there's not many organisations and kind of communities that really give as many opportunities as community music does. And I think over the years, I've seen so many people's confidence improve. They've started at points where they've never done music before, or they aren't feeling very chatty to people. And these projects have given such a good space for them to explore not only their own musical talents and interests, but also their own social skills. And like, there was one young person that I was working with on one of the projects. It was on Wavelength, and they basically hadn't felt comfortable singing in front of anyone ever before. And we started off doing one-to-one sessions, and when they felt comfortable singing and trying stuff out in front of just me, they then started to feel a little bit more comfortable exploring these options of singing in front of other people in a group setting. And by the end of their time on the Wavelength project, they were performing at venues in Birmingham, and they were writing their own music. And to see that growth was just incredible. And I don't know if they would have gotten there as quickly if they hadn't have discovered this world of community music.
Yeah, and I'm sure for that person that you were working with, that confidence, it wasn't just, tangible in terms of music, but I'm sure in so many, other ways, like you mentioned, James, this sort of soft skills, there would have been so much confidence growth in other areas of their life, which is incredible, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and I think another sort of tendril of that is how much benefit it has to the professional workforce in the area as well. I mean, all of us have started probably as shadows, assistants, and kind of grown through the knowledge of other people. There's very few that are born fully fledged as community musician practitioners, is there? It's a very much a learning process. And so that focus on trying to teach other professional musicians how to share their skills is of a huge benefit to the community. And there's so many people over the years that Quench Arts and other organisations have helped, myself included, to be able to do something that is, when we try and sum up what we've spoken about for the last period of time, it's quite magical, really, isn't it? The impact that can have on people. To train a group of people to be able to deliver those kinds of projects is nothing short of a miracle in many ways. And so that's the kind of the intangible part of community music, the community that it builds, not just in participants, but in the workforce that are delivering those projects too. And those kinds of connections are just as important in my mind.
Yeah, I think for myself particularly, I've grown so much over the time that I've been working with Quench, and I grow over every session. Something that happens, I think, probably every time I do a group songwriting experience is that the participants will say at the end, I can't believe we did that. I can't believe we did that together. And I'm sure that's the same for everyone here, that experience of writing music together, it's so much more fun and it's easier working as a team. And I think that for some people is really new, to feel that kind of collaborative group experience and to share an outcome that, we're all amazed that we've come up with this thing in such a short amount of time. We've kind of given birth to this new piece of music that didn't exist half an hour ago even, which is just amazing. And I find it amazing as well, because I also couldn't have written that song on my own. So I'm always learning new stuff along the way as well.
I think it really helps to sort of build that sense of belonging, doesn't it? If people feel, that ownership of the piece that's being created, and also, that really important part of the group, that collective experience. So that creating the original music, I think, is such a powerful thing to enable people to sort of express their emotions and their feelings and, collectively come up with something together. I think it's incredibly powerful. And then, that's really helping to build their resilience in terms of being able to express themselves, but also to have this sort of ongoing peer support through the friendships that they've built as well, which I think is incredibly important.
So have we found a definition?
I was just going to say, it's become abundantly clear that it's really hard to define in one sentence. Does anybody want to have a crack at it?
Go on then. I'm happy to give it a go. I've been making notes as you've all been talking. I think there's basically 4 main points that you've all touched on as you've been speaking. And I'd say the first is about building a welcoming community where everyone's in it together and giving people ownership and a sense of belonging through that shared experience. I think the second thing a lot of you have mentioned is that it's about creating a safe, inclusive and welcoming space, breaking down any barriers to music making that might exist and catering for all, whatever background or level of experience people might have. And then where needed, developing targeted projects to support that access and engagement to help with equity. I think quite a lot of you have mentioned that it's also about collaboration. It's often participant-led or participant-steered and has a focus on facilitation rather than more of a traditional top-down teaching approach. That being said, a lot of you have still mentioned that it's about people learning and people growing, and that learning is not just in relation to participants, but also music leaders, organisations, and sometimes communities growing through the experience too. And then finally, I think quite a lot of you have mentioned or touched on the fact that it's often focused more on the process itself rather than necessarily an end product as such. So it's often achieving or seeking outcomes that go beyond just musical growth, but also touch on growth in other areas too. So that can be socially, in terms of confidence, for example. But, very much it's about fun and friendships too. So I think that covers, probably in summary, a lot of what you've all said. So I hope that helps.
I would say welcome, collaborate, and learn from your experience.
Hopefully, we've given enough information for our listeners to have more of an idea about what community music actually is.
I think we should finish off this episode by playing a track from our Musical Connections project called aptly Musical Connections, written by one of our project members called Basil. Enjoy, and we hope that you can join us for one of our next episodes too. Bye.
Bye.
Couldn't see any way forward. I came by you and you were there for me. Want you to know I'm so very thankful. You connect me to a place where it's so nice to be. Day by day I feel a little bit stronger, knowing that you're right there by my side. I see no reason no more to worry, 'cause I know everything's gonna be alright. Musical connection, a one big family. Musical connection, in the heart of the community. Musical connection, with peace, love and unity. This kind of love fits like a glove. feeling down or a little bit lonely, you can put a pen to paper and could churn out a song. Spice it up, nice it up with some instrumentation. We can all come together and sing along. Everybody do their thing a little way different. Everyone add to the pot a brand new style. Oh, what a joy, oh, what an inspiration. Makes you wanna dance, makes you want to smile. Musical connection, a one big family. Musical connection, in the heart of the community. Musical connection, with peace, love and a unity. This kind of love fits like a glove. Musical connection, one big family. Musical connection, in the heart of the community. Musical connection, with a piece of love and unity. This kind of love fits like a glove. Musical connection. 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 Musical connection.